Hello again. Welcome to another The Green Dragons Gaming Club. Without us, they'd never feel like winners. Without them, we couldn't look so good. So today we actually have the Saurian Ancients versus Knights of Equitaine. And joining me today giving this battle report is actually Dave. So the two players were myself, Sir MC, my name is Mark, and Dave. Say hi, Dave.
Hi, guys.
So right here is Dave's army. And we're going to go from our current left to right. So go ahead. What do you have
So
on
from
the
left to right, I have. Sorry, I have to refer to the correct names for Ninth Age. So apologies. So there's the 10 Skink Braves with a Salamander behind it, weapon crew, and then there's another Fire Breather next to them, and then there's Skink Hunters next to that with 10 of those with blowpipes. Behind there is a unit of 20 ancients, warriors, Saurian warriors with a hand weapon shield. Next to that is a block of 25 warriors with spears and a hero level character that's Saurian. He has the Ogre Blade and the Initiative Potion and heavy armor and shield. Next to that is an ancient dinosaur with a giant crossbow on his back and sharp horns.
I think it's Tower Soar.
Taurosaur, it's called now.
Yes.
Yep. It's got sharp horns. In front of that's another 10 skinks, ranked skinks with sword and spear, sword and javelin.
Sword and Javelin, yeah.
Next to that is stand-in Temple Guard block, 20 of Temple Guard with a Quaddle Lord in the middle of it. The Lord has Wellspring of Power, Dispel Scroll, Shielded Soul, and is the BSB. In front of that is 10 skinks with blowpipes, and next to that is 4 caimans with great weapons.
So, and by the way, the part of Temple Guard today, this game was played by the Dryads. So let's see. Over here we have Equitaine. So I've played a couple of games. I still have to put them up, and I won't lie. I've had my head handed to me by our mutual friend Ryan. Undead just tore me up. Actually, Undead was actually a very good game, and that was almost a draw. Initially, it was my favorite until the end. But like Dark Elves, for whatever reason, just had my number because they're going first and stuff like that. So I went and I had to retool my list. So to me, I needed more buffs, which is something that Equitaine lacks, but they can utilize their magic. So again, going from left to right is on the far left, you actually have 7 Ground Knights with a standard and champion. Then you've got the Peasant Bowman. Then you've got a bus of 8 Knights of the Realm, and I put my level 2 damsel, but she has the tome, so she's allowed 3 spells, and she's got the pebbles, so their magic resistance 1. And I've got my BSB in there, and so that's Sir William. You can see him with the big flag. And then I've got my Duke, Breslin, who I've always called him Breslin. Otherwise, it's Rockwolf. Those are my two Dukes. And Breslin's in there, and he has Virtue of Might. He has the Dragon Lance, so he's D3 wounds on the charge. He has Virtue of Might, so he has Devastating Charge, Thunderous Charge, and he can, for every wound he does that's unsaved, he does an additional attack. He also has the Crystal Ball, so he's +1 to hit, so lightning reflexes. He overall is a very nasty model. I've got a unit of 20 peasants. They're meant to die. They're just stored and board this game. Of course, I have Betsy back there with the trebuchet. I've got her sister trebuchet with just the rock. I've got another unit of peasant archers. I'm trying a unit of Knights of Forlorn. There are 18 Knights of Forlorn. I have a level 4 mage, so she's beloved. She's in the back. She's got the magic item that gives her +1 to cast and dispel. And then I've got a foot knight. Another paladin with the Virtue of Piety. Oh, my BSB also has Virtue of Daring. Forgot about that. But he's got Virtue of Piety, and she's got Talisman of Roland. So if you're doing non-magical shooting at that unit, they have a 4 up ward save. Otherwise, they have a 5 up ward save. And their magic resistance 2. I have a lot of points spent in that unit. They're meant, and I changed my lures. I usually go with two 2 level 2s of white magic. Here I took a level 4 of nature and a level 2 with the additional spell of heavens. Mm-hmm. And then on the far right is a unit of 9 Knights of the Realm with the Banner of Courage.
All right, so just stopping and looking at this real quick since we've got both of us here. When I'm looking as the Saurian Ancient player, looking at his army, I'm thinking this is going to hurt for me. His general and that unit with his BSP in general is going to ruin any one of my blocks. Like the Temple Guard might possibly hold around because they might not all get murdered in one go, which I think they probably will, but maybe not. So he can blow through any one of my blocks with a single charge, which is really bad for me. Normally, in my thinking with the Knights, you have to get him to combo charge, right? So you have to make him get combinations off, and if you can blow up one half of that combination with chaff, then your block can survive, you can counter charge, is my thinking. But that unit there specifically, with the character support, is going to ruin me. So I don't know what to do about that. His general speed and ability to maneuver around me is troubling for my infantry line, and his ability to throw rocks at everything is also bad. So I'm not really sure where to go because I can't push into his line effectively because I will get outmaneuvered and or just blown up with that one super block. Or if I sit back, I'll just get rocks rained on my head until everything dangerous is dead and or very beat up. So this is a difficult matchup to my mind going into it.
And that's it. Now, we're about ready to roll for first turn. We've rolled standard deployment, and I think it was hold the ground.
It was middle. It was whatever the middle one is.
So those were our 2 things. And I am going to apologize right now for the blue tape. We also were playing Star Wars this last weekend, so I taped the tables off into 3-foot sections. So we just decided not to remove the tape. I do apologize. All right, so Knights of Equitaine, turn 1. There's a nice picture of my mixed peasants, because to me, peasants, they're not men-at-arms. They're supposed to be a mixed bag of things. It's like whatever they can pick up and find, and hence I have very old models. There's a nice picture of Breslin and that nice bus. So here's how the board looks after turn 1. So I slid my Grail Knights off to the side there, and otherwise everything else moved up with the exception of the archers. The reason I moved those Grail Knights off to the side is that Tower Soar, I hate that thing. That thing to me is evil. Every time I play Dave, it impales my knights, and granted, I have a 5-up ward save against it. 5-up! I fail every single time, which I think happened again. Out of 4, I made 1.
That's true. So this is a good picture for giving you a general layout of your battle plans too, just because I think it's interesting with 2 of us here. So I've set myself up to use this impassable piece of terrain here in the kind of top right, that big rock formation, to try to anchor my one side of my line, is my thinking. And I'm just going to turn my whole line around it. And I'm going to hope that the Grail Knights don't try to flank me up around it to the other side of it and come down my line that way. I'm going to try to set up to have to countercharge, or I had the skinks to run over there and to gum them up, to chaff them up over on that side. So that's my thinking, is that I'm going to move my line forward. I'm going to try to chaff up the bottom set of knights, the bottom lance of knights out of the way. I'm going to try to roast a couple guys. I'm going to try to put some the blocks down so where they're not scary or particularly scary to me. I'm going to push forward with my line. I'm going to chaff up his initial charge lanes with his general's unit and try to get a combo charge or a flank charge into them, because he's scary, but he's only really super fantastically scary on the charge. When he's in a ground combat, I should be able to win those eventually. So that's my basic plan.
And in retrospect, I actually did misplay my Ground Knights. I should have done exactly what Dave was saying and went around the impassable piece of terrain there, the big rock there, and instead my line of thinking is like, all right, he sees my big bus, he's going to have to approach the big bus, and then I have the Ground Knights set up perfectly for a flank charge into that, therefore causing disruption, whatever I need, they can run forward. Wasn't a bad play, but I think Dave's idea of what I probably should have done was a better play here. So there's that forest in the middle of the field. Again, I have that lore of nature, and a lot of my plan involves my level 4 mage. All right, I am relying on her this game.
Have you thought about? So one of the things that Mark has changed in his list because he's a little bit worried about blocks of infantry grinding him down is using the I disrupt your ranks with the wood spell,
Yep.
whatever that's officially called. So I know. So the wood was centrally located
Spirit of the
here.
Woods.
Spirit of the Woods. So the wood's centrally located here. Have an idea of how you would deal with that if this wood isn't centrally located?
Yes, it's within 12 inches of the caster as
So
well.
then it's within 12
Yeah.
inches.
So again,
Okay.
it's either you're close to the woods, you're not close to the woods, and there are other aspects.
Okay. So that's a key part of what Mark is trying to do with his magic phase now.
All right. So let's see. So trebuchet. So after movement, magic. I think magic. I turn around. I got a. I made my. No, I didn't do anything really with first.
The
Magic
first
phase.
turn, your first turn, your blizzard went
Oh,
off
I blizzard.
irresistibly.
Yes, yes. I got blizzard off irresistibly, and then both my mages took a wound.
Well, only one did.
And,
you rolled a
well,
one
no,
wound.
that's
Yeah.
why I rolled my miscast. And so I let Dave roll. He rolled a failed wound on the one mage, and then the level 4 mage took a single wound, which with
Yeah.
lore of nature she got back instantly the next turn.
Yeah. So magic was. I'll go with fickle this game.
Very.
So that's the first of the miscasts, and it was effectively not at all important.
So now we're using. So again, this is a nice picture of the rear end there of the Tyrosaur. I did a trebuchet shot and actually hit and only did 2 wounds because I rolled a 2 on my wound die, and that was it. But again, Betsy at least stayed on target, and the other trebuchet just completely missed. Over here, my bowman. This was on the left flank. My left flank. You're right.
Yeah. I think your other trebuchet landed amongst Saurus and just killed
Yeah, you're
someone.
right. That's the next picture.
Yeah.
That's the next picture. You're right. So here, my bowmen were actually on fire. They killed 2 of the skinks. That was a far shot, and I was quite proud of my bowmen.
Your bowmen were boss this game.
So here's that other trebuchet shot. So it drifted. It landed right in between the 2 units of Saurus warriors, and I killed 2 of the one block and 3 from the other block. And I kept screaming the whole game, trebuchet!
Yeah, he sure does.
All right, so now, Saurian Ancients, turn 1. So this is what he does, and what I see Dave doing is he moves up his salamanders. I figure he's going to flame me, which you'll see in a moment. He moves up his skinks, and he's basically forming that line for me to charge in and then countercharge. Meanwhile, he's got that Stegodon sitting back there looking all pretty and professional, and has given me the flank. So for my 1 unit of Knights of the Realm, I'm like, hey, I now have free reign. I'm going to run him in, give him something else to think about, and force him to give me his flank from one of the 2 sides.
And I should have pushed it forward more. In my view, now looking back at the game, I should have pushed through forward with my blocks more aggressively and really focused on chaffing up his Lord's unit so that I can get combo charge, because I'm playing against a ticking time bomb, right, with his flanks, because I just don't have enough chaff to chaff that up forever. I have enough to buy me a turn, maybe 2, but I don't have enough for 4 turns. So I should have forced all 3 of those skink units up more forward, so his Lord's unit had no charge lane.
I think you did. You maxed him out. You maxed him out.
Maybe I maxed him out. I feel like I should have pushed forward. I feel like I'm not as far forward as I should have been. But maybe as far forward as I can be.
I think you maxed out. I think your back ranks weren't up as high.
Oh, fair enough. The other thing that I made a mistake here that Mark pointed out in game was I left just enough of a gap between the skirmishers in the woods and the ranked skinks on the field for his general's unit to come through. So he could have technically charged me through that hole.
It was a 17-inch charge, so I needed a 9, and I had Virtue of Daring, so an extra plus 3 inches. It was almost a shoo-in. I chose not to do it.
I think mostly just to not put me on tilt and have me pissed off for the next hour. But it was a play mistake on my part, so I didn't even consider that lance could get through, because it could only barely touch the one side of my block, right? But the way the closing the door functions, it works. So for people watching that trying to learn something, be careful with that maneuver from lances because they're so thin. compared to other cavalry charges,
Even
that's a big could
even
be an
monstrous
issue.
cavalry
Or monstrous cavalry.
or monstrous infantry. Again, through the lance formation is thinner than monstrous infantry, so you can easily turn around. I mean, that's the benefit of the lance. I love the lance. It's that couple ranks, but again, knights die quickly, as we'll see in a little bit.
Yep.
All right, so he started shooting at me. This was actually from his magic spell. He did a second level fireball, and he rolled a total of 6 hits, and then he had the attribute go off on them, which was a total of 7 hits, and he only killed 3. He actually killed more than that. I rolled ridiculous with my armor saves. I rolled a bunch of 6s.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mention back when I told about my list. I was running fire, the lore of fire, on my Slan. The thinking there is that the magic missiles give me a long-range tool to handle light cav and the like.
Yeah.
So it gives me something to handle that kind of idea.
And it can give buff to the units too. It's a great lore.
And there's a couple of buffs, right? Yeah.
All right, so now those skinks with the blowpipes, they turn around. Again, he does more wounds. I rolled fiendishly high, and I made a couple of saves. All right, so we're now in the shooting phase. That stupid salamander. You see him at the top of the screen. He killed 9. I lost a total of 10 peasants in that shooting phase. 10! And they stuck. All right, that's all I can say is those peasants, if they weren't painted already, they definitely deserve to be painted at this point in time. And they stuck. My general wasn't far away, so they were going off leadership 9, but I think I rolled a 6 anyway.
I think in this case it wasn't the general that was close; it was the knights.
Oh, I had a paladin that was within 6 inches of them as well.
Yeah, so that's something to consider for those people trying to learn something about Knights of Equitaine, is that peasants, despite being low leadership, don't actually play unless poorly managed with low leadership, because they get it from any knight, right? Or at least any hero level character, but not just the general in any case. So they play as if they're leadership 9 or 8 often.
8. Only general's 9, unless you have the banner. So now we're going back to Equitaine. It's now turn 2. And here's a look at the board. So I go charging in with my peasants into that salamander. My attitude was, they're peasants. They're meant to die. In retrospect, I probably should have charged. No, that's still pretty happy, but I still could have charged my unit of infantry there into the skinks, into their side. The reason I didn't.
Far back, weren't you here?
No, not that far. But regardless, the reason why I didn't though is they were stubborn, and all you needed was 1. And then if he was within range, I did not. Cold-blooded, I just didn't want to get stuck with a stubborn unit. As I already pointed out, or Dave already pointed out, I could have charged into the unit of spears because I was going to be going first. I wasn't as concerned about them, but again, I didn't want to piss off my opponent.
Yeah, I mean that's just we're hanging out playing games for a night. There's no reason to.
Yeah, it was a friendly game, and we pointed it out, and that was about it. So let's see. So this is I believe that was a trebuchet shot. Which I missed the Stegodon once again, and then that was it. I didn't really do much else because the other that time the Treb did miss, and my archers actually didn't do much of anything that turn.
No.
And the one spell that did get to go off was Stone Skin.
Yes, importantly, Stone Skin went off on his peasants that were fighting.
And I think it was irresistibly too.
No, that one wasn't irresistible.
That wasn't.
It was so much. It was like a high dice roll, and you had a lot of dice that turn. It was like 10 to 5 or something.
Yeah.
And so spending dice to try to save that salamander seemed foolish, but then the rest of the spells, then maybe you miscast or you lost.
I think it was a miscast. I think it still was a miscast, but nothing happened.
Like it ended up being too much defensive pressure relieved if I dispelled that. Because no, you tried to race them back. You tried to revive them.
That's what it was, and I failed.
Yeah,
my other spells failed. I rolled enough dice that I should have, even less than average, and I still failed.
Yeah.
So now we're doing Saurian Ancients turn 2. So again, I have toughness 5 peasants. I still say they're meant to die. He pushes up, and he's chaffing me up. At the same time, I'm going, I still don't care. I'm looking at the board. I'm like, I just don't care. I have tons of options I can still do at this point. And what was going through your head?
So I'm thinking that the salamander, so it stuck last time. It'll probably stick again this time. I'm thinking that I'll probably get a knight or two between the fireball and a skinks. Right, skinks are unlikely, but maybe you get one through kind of thing. But the salamander he'll hit all 9 of them. He's a strength 4 guy. I'm thinking I'll get at least 1 or 2 of them with that salamander. So I'm gonna start picking away at those guys, chaff them up. So you have to either charge. I'm expecting my salamander to lose in the middle actually and run, and so that clears that side. Otherwise, your peasants are in the way or whatever. Like your charges into this block are this right flanking hold. The block that's holding that right flank will not be non-existent this turn. The blowpipes move up past line of sight because I need to start threatening those trebuchets. They're kicking my butt, so I need to get up and there and do something to them. The other 2 skinks move up to chaff up his general's unit, and possibly the Knight's Grail if they want to charge in. And so I'm setting up, and then the Caimans are set up for a flank. Now, the 4-wide Cayman unit, because I put it that way because I was just being lazy, because that's the old tray I had from when I played Blizzards originally in 7th, before supporting attacks were a thing. So I should have been not lazy and put them in a 3 and then 1 or a 2 and 2 formation, because they're too wide to fit through the gap there for even a counter charge, even if it had come up. So that's a show of my rustiness in movement formations and the like here, but that's the idea. Is I'm going to move up my blocks. I'm going to shoot you with everything in that main unit. I'm going to put a fireball onto them. I'll be able to chaff up this right side flank and start wearing away at this other lance. And then your Knights of Grail will just hang out there, and I'm starting to threaten your trebuchets.
All right, so let's see here. So again, that's just another. Oh no, he killed a knight. I think that was fire. That was shooting or fireball.
I don't remember.
Nah, that was something. And this was shooting. So then he kills another 3 knights in that main block there. I'm going crap. My luck. The ones are coming out. And then that shooting over there, he kills 1 knight on that flank. And that was actually from the guys with the blowpipes, I think.
Yeah, the salamander failed.
Yeah,
well, you made all your.
He did 9 wounds to that unit, and I sit there like a champ. I go, "Lady, save me!" I turn around, I still fail 3, and then I made those next 3 saves.
Yep.
Over here, this is now close combat. He did 1 wound. I did 1 wound. We pushed.
Which is actually bad for me. I was expecting that combat to be done sooner, and you'll see next turn why that turned out to be bad for me.
All right. So now it's Equitaine's turn 3. And here's what the board looks like. So as I'm sitting there declaring my charges, I'm going, all right. He has me chaffed up. I'm still not concerned. I still don't care. I'm worried about the skinks going after my trebuchets, because the trebuchets are they're my main saving grace right now. So again, turn 3, there's my BSB, and here's the way movement looks. So again, I move up. I actually charged. What was over there that I charged? No, I'm sorry. So I charged my general into the big block of Sauruses with the spears, and he's like, hold. I'm like, all right, I'm going to also do a far charge. I needed 9, so it was definitely a possible charge, just not the easiest charge. With my large block, and was going to be a flank charge of my Knights of Forlorn with the extra character into their flank. He goes, no, that's just not right.
The other problem was, so he needed 9 from the not Hedge Knights, whatever they're called, Knights Forlorn, to get there. The other thing is the lance that has now into my skinks could have gone into the flank of my fire-breathing weapon beast, and then his overrun would have been a 9 to get into the flank of that same unit. So he just does the combat in the right order, and then he basically has 2 chances out of 9 to get something into the flank of my Spearsaurus with his general in the front.
Yep.
Which is why that combat cost me so hard. Because I would have probably chanced it if it's just the Hedge Knights trying to make a 9. And things still really surprise me how far they go on charges. So he could have gone there. And that's why I decided to flee it all instead of holding with the spears. Because if it was just his general, sure, like I accepted on my champion, he murders the hell out of that champion. But then I've got his general stuck. I can countercharge. It's all
Yeah.
set up.
So again, so I charge in with the big unit into the spearman. He holds, but then flees. So I redirect my general into the unit of skinks that were sitting in front of them. He flees with the skinks. Meanwhile, the Temple Guard and his Tarsaur are both immune to psychology. They just don't care. The Forlorn tried to redirect into the skinks that the night block ran into, so this way they could then overrun and hit the salamander sitting there behind. I take my BSB and I put him in front of his skinks, which we did forget that they had to test to march.
Oh, that was last turn, yeah.
Yeah, but live and learn. And that's it. Again, I'm not overly concerned. He's not messing me up too much. I've got enough left. And I do get a big spell off the Spirit of the Woods onto his Temple Guard, and that will come up in just a few moments.
Yeah, so the other reason why I did all of the fleeing is now I figure I've got his general, the scariest mofo on the board for anybody. And I've got a block of Temple Guard that can charge into him. I've got my Ancient Taurosaur with sharp horns, so I can reroll my impact hits charging into him. And I'm going to overrun into his block. I can then chaff up his Grail Knights even more with those skinks, take out his biggest threats, his general, and then that first block of lance, and I'm through with my blocks, right? And then I can start taking over the board, is my thinking.
No, it was a great line of thinking. Magic! I get Spirit of the Woods, and I roll a miscast, and she gets sucked into the warp. She just dies. 295 points down the drain for a bad dice roll. Crap happens. She did her job. But because of the miscast and what I rolled, I lost another 4 Knights of Forlorn. And so now we're on to shooting. Trebuchet! The first Trebuchet shot missed, killing, 5?
Ancient Warriors.
Ancient Warriors, because again, that's Strength 4, Armor Piercing. And second one...
Second one lands right on the Taurosaur and kills it. So my awesome charge into the Lord now is completely housed because he got a irresistible force, no more rank, so my static res is gone, and then he murdered the guy that had the high strength impact hits.
Yep. And over here, now we're into close combat. So those skinks that were there, they killed one of my knights before the knights ever got to go. I'm like, really? It's a skink. A skink killed a knight.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Never doubt the skinks.
Never doubt the skinks. Never doubt the skink. But meanwhile, that one skink is now running away. That thing turns around and fails its panic test from from the unit being broken in close combat, and it flees. So now it's Saurian Ancients turn 3. Here's how the board now looks, and this also has his charges, so it's the end of movement phase. So he did charge into the unit of peasants that are still there. I did not get a chance to renew that spell. The peasants are still there. He did 1 wound. I did another wound.
You saved 2 wounds.
I saved 2 wounds. Yeah,
on a 6+ save.
And on a 6+ save. So they're still there. He reformed his Croxagors, and he did charge in, going, all right, well, even still, I'm sitting static 3.
Yeah,
I think
I
you were.
banner, 2 banners,
BSB,
and charge.
And a charge. So I'm sitting static 3. It's a decent, all right chance I'm going to get your general to break.
Also, I have to, at this point, I'm thinking I have to try it, because he's just going to put his lance and general into me next turn anyway. I'm out of chaff. Sitting there is no better decision, in my view.
Yep. And he ran with his skinks to go in front of my trebuchets to threaten my trebuchets, which was great play. And he rallied his fleeing troops, so that's why they're sitting back there behind the walls.
Also on the right hand side, that block that was going to hold the right flank, I charged into the peasants because there was no good options. Right, that lance, because I lost my salamander without doing any real damage. Right, essentially because he ran, because that was a bad job by me, and I was out of range with my leadership bubble. He ran, so I didn't get to breathe fire on the lance again, and chaff them up a second time. So now he's going to get a double charge with a lance and those Knights of Forlorn into that block, and they will certainly die. So I might as well try to take out these peasants and overrun, or do something, or reform, or do something with them. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty well housed at this point, so you might as well try for like the big overrun. I screwed up the overrun rules because now we run center to center and not straight ahead like an overrun like I was thinking. So I just messed up the rules. And so they're not going to overrun in the direction I want them to, which was through the forest out of the line of sight of things. Or at least out of the line of sight of the hedge knights, the Knights of Forlorn. So I feel like I'm pretty well screwed now, right? My best plan here was to get his king Duke.
We haven't done that
Through and get through, but my static res now is way reduced. He's a leadership 9 with rerolls. I'm really unlikely to break him.
So, so here we go. It's now this is close combat, and I don't think anything happened during the magic phase.
No, because I'm in Oh no, something did happen important in the magic phase.
Oh yes.
So one, I didn't realize that the Duke had the flaming helm or the dragon helm, whatever the 2+ ward against fire attacks are. So I cast Fire Swords, or whatever that spell is officially called, because I'm like, oh, I'll have a better chance to wound. That'll be a good thing. Except for I irresistibly cast it, so I don't blow up my Quaddle Lord. Instead, I lose 2 levels and 2 spells.
He lost 2 spells too, and the first one being the one that he cast.
First one being the Flame Sword, so I no longer get +1 to wound. And then I lose the level 6 spell that gives me toughness, +1 toughness, and a 5+ ward, and resistance to fire, because he has the Dragon Lance that he's going to breathe fire on me, right? So I cast a spell that actually hurt my chances in combat, and I managed to miscast it so that I lost the other spell that would have been really handy in combat. So that was a good thing.
Yep. So here we are in close combat. I lost 2 of my peasants. Those darn peasants. That's all I can say. They didn't want to really die. They did another wound onto the salamander, and meanwhile they still ended up dying. They were caught at the starting line because the salamander, after they broke, ran 9. So they were picked up, but unfortunately he failed. He rolled a 5. For the Saurian warriors, and they just wasn't far enough to reach the side flank of the Knights of Forlorn.
Yeah, so 7 would have been... If I had rolled a 7 with them, I get both in. The Salamander can be on the outside. He dies to the Knight Errant charge, but then he's dead. And due to the fickleness of the rules, a dead guy just reduces your charge bonuses, so you would lose your flank and your ranks and the banner and all that from that. Now you have... I would be disrupted because of the forest. But still, the battle goes somewhat differently if they make it on that 7.
Yeah.
But they don't.
And over here, I do 1 wound. That's all I did. Even though I rolled 2 1s to hit, and then I rolled only 1 wound, and that 1 wound got through.
I think you did, and then you breathed on me. You did 2.
Oh, and then I breathed on you, and you saved everything. I only did 1 wound. I lost combat by 2.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I lost combat by 2, but I stuck. I rolled a 6 on dice. So turn 4. There's my Grell Damsel. So here's how the board looks. At the end, what happened to? Oh, so this is again after charges. So I turn around, I declare a charge of the knights into the side flank of the Saurian warriors. He chose to flee. That flea popped him all the way out on the other side of that 1 combat with my Duke.
Near to where the blue tape is, in the middle, on the other side of his Duke's unit?
Between the Temple Guard and the Skinks. So then I turn around and I redirected with that unit of knights into the Salamander and failed to even get close.
He also fled the Salamander.
Oh, the Salamander fled. Yeah, so that's why they're going in that direction. Meanwhile, I took the unit of knights because the unit was already fleeing, and I decided to turn around and charge the Saurian warriors to get them out of where they were, and they fled again. So they fled through my general. They fled through an impassable piece of terrain. So they're failing their dangerous terrain test on a 1, 2, or 3. So all of a sudden, that larger unit has maybe 7. I think ends up with 3. Ends up with 3 models after all that dangerous terrain test that he had to take.
Yep.
So bad dice rolling.
Well,
I think it was actually more close to average, but
it was bad.
Yeah.
So
let's see. So I redirected with the knights into the temple guard. I took my BSB into the temple guard, and I took my Grail Knights. I'm like, you know what? They gotta get into the game sometime into the unit Skinks, because if he's going to countercharge with the Croxagors or Caimans as they're called now, I need to either be prepared to take that charge or countercharge with the Grails. Uh, and meanwhile, I moved the one unit of archers around so they can try taking pop shots at the Skinks that are going to be troubling my trebuchets. Don't expect to do much, but hey, who knows? So, Magic Phase. I get another spell irresistibly to go off, and it was to reroll to hits on my knights.
On the unit of
on
knights.
the unit of knights, and because I had Lower Heavens, it was Star Line or something like that. So I turn around, pull out the template, I hit all my knights. He rolls for me. We do a wound to the damsel, and he does four wounds. And I turn around and I actually make all 4 ward saves. And we're like, crap, okay, time to keep going. Over here, so now we go in the shooting phase. So this was a lucky trebuchet shot. I'm going to go back a quick pick. Another quick pick, and there we go. So they're too close for Betsy to turn around and shoot them, but not too close for the one with the normal rock to throw at the unit of Skinks over there. So Betsy goes ahead and shoots, I want to say, at the big block in the back.
You shot at the Caimans.
I shot the Caimans, and I think I missed or didn't do anything.
Yep.
But then that one there, turn around, did a direct hit on the Skinks, and killed 6 of the Skinks. So they have to do a leadership test. They fail, and they're fleeing. And then my archers needing 7s. I actually did 3 wounds, and he made one of his saves. So that's why the other 2 Skinks are now dead. That was very lucky on my part. And here we are. So now we're into close combat. He turns around. My Ground Knights, they completely obliterate the Skinks. There was 1 Skink left
To attack
after the Knights, and then the horse just did it in. And that's how that looked. And over here, he turned around. I did a total of 6 wounds, and he did 1 to my Knights. And that was on the turn that I charged.
And I made a mistake here. So I was refusing his challenge. He was challenging with his general, and I was refusing with my unit champion. I should have just taken it on my unit champion this round, so that I could have more surviving members in the unit. It's a minor misplay.
All right, so here we are. It's now Saurian Ancient's turn. This is how the board looks. And he's going to charge in with the Caimans right into the side of the flank of the Knights there. And I think that's really all he had going on.
That's all I have left.
Yeah. So here we are. Oh, I want to go back to another pick. So he turns around. He does charge in. I guess I missed a picture or 2. He ends up killing the damsel. He ends up killing the last remaining 3 Knights of the Realm from that initial unit. And that took his Caimans out of combat because that entire unit was dead. We weren't fully sure as to how to play, but even if we turn around and gave him the flank and the charge bonus, I still won that combat that turn because of what occurred. Even with them charging in.
I think we tie if I get them to still in combat.
I was +2.
All right, so you were up by 1 more or whatever.
Yeah, I was still +2 after that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I lost.
And he turned around, he reformed to prepare for the Ground Knights. He's like, what am I going to do? Charge into your general and get flanked by your Ground Knights, killing all my Caimans before I even have a chance. And it just...
Yeah, so I could have overrun into his general and then continue that combat. And then in Mark's turn, he would have had the Grail Knights free to do whatever the hell they wanted to, which would be either into the flank of the Temple Guard or into the Cayman, or if I put the Cayman facing them, they just murder the Cayman, then overrun into the Temple Guard. It doesn't really matter. Grail Knights charging into that ruin would just kill me, so it was done. And then with his maneuverability, he's lost essentially nothing. I always lost one lance of,
I lost one lance and I lost my peasants and I lost both my mages
and you lost both your mages. But I've lost my general, who was my mage as well at that point,
and your BSB.
and my BSB. So anyway, it's turn. That's turn
Five.
4.
Yeah, this is the end of turn 4. It's about
So that'd be turn 5
5.
that you get into me. You start charging down the flanks. Maybe you get my last big block. Maybe you don't. Probably do. But the game's over.
Yep.
And it was 2 a.m. in the morning, so we were just done.
So end result of this is a massacre for Knights of Equitaine. Beat up on the Saurian Ancients. Again, Magic was very fickle. It was a fun game, great learning game. I felt, and again we were busy having a good time. And let's see. So for the MVPs, Trebuchet. My trebuchets were just on fire. They took out the pterosaur with that giant bow, and you know what? That's what killed those 3 knights. The bow turned around and killed 3 knights, and then the 4th knight finally saved.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that one turn where I put a big fireball, 3d6 fireball into the lance with the characters in it. I put all 3 units of skinks, and I put the giant bow into it. I killed 3 knights.
You killed a total of 4. The
4
fireballs
knights.
did 1 wound.
Yeah.
And then it was that bow that just took out 3.
But his shooting was on fire. I mean, the trebuchets themselves claimed something like 400 points worth of models, and they had 2 more turns of shooting to go. So 2/3 of the game, they've claimed 400 points of models, and then your bowmen also did like work.
The bowmen.
I mean, for the bowmen's value, they did work.
Yeah, absolutely. And overall, though, it was a great game. It was hopefully this is I thought a great opportunity since Dave was actually here when I was doing the battle report. And please post any comments or questions. And that's it. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day. Any comments?
The only other thing is we recognized afterwards that I was playing 100 points down. So if you're busy making if you're busy like, why is he playing 100 points down? Because I wrote a list late at night too quickly. But we realized it eventually, so.
Yeah, but in retrospect, not sure how much that would have changed. It definitely would have changed how the game was played out, but would have been made a little bit different and more interesting.
Yeah, I am happy in your comments, if you have them, what you might have done different with deployment. I feel like, I mean, dice are dice and lists are lists, and both could be different. But I'd like to hear, in that situation, what you might have done differently.
All right, so again, thank you so much. If you do live out in Westchester, Pennsylvania, so just outside Philadelphia, feel free to reach out to me up on the 9th Age forum, SORMC 2015, and that's our group is based out of Westchester, and always happy to meet new players. Bye.